Now, the Eibach Sport-Plus Suspension Kit that we have in this video should appeal to any S197 owner out there looking to drastically change both the appearance and handling performance of his or her ride using a couple of key components from one of the most trusted names in aftermarket suspension. This does include a set of front and rear adjustable sway bars, a set of dampers, and the very popular Sportline Springs, which will give your coupe or convertible a very aggressive drop. As far as pricing is concerned, you're going to be looking at right around $1,100 for the Sport-Plus Suspension Kit, making it one of the most affordable currently on the site that does toss in some dampers. Installation will be 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me, but we will have a little bit more detail on that later on. But let's first start with the drop, because this kit will certainly cater to those S197 owners out there who prefer more of that slam look, and thanks largely in part to the Sportline Springs, which are included here. They are a very popular spring by themselves. Check out the product page, read up on some of the reviews, check out the customer submitted images, and you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Now, if this really isn't your bag, you don't like the slam look, you prefer maybe a more mild drop, then may I recommend checking out the Pro Plus Suspension Kit instead. Essentially the same exact thing you see in here, but it's gonna swap out your Sportline Springs for the Pro Kit Springs and offer a less aggressive drop. But let's hang out on those Sportline Springs a little longer here, guys, because in my opinion, it is one of the most important factors with this kit, as we are talking about that bigger drop, and it continues to make them the popular choice we keep talking about for not only the S197, but also other generations as well. Let's break down that drop specifically here, guys, with the Sportlines and your S197. And you're gonna be looking at 1.5 inches up front and a whopping 2 inches for the rear. And that's a pretty big drop, guys. In fact, one of the biggest ones you can currently get for your S197 in the category. So long story short, if you wanna go low, the Sportlines continue to be the spring of choice. Getting a little further into the Sportline Springs, you're gonna find that progressive spring rate, and that's something I always like to see on a street car because it's gonna give you the best of both worlds. It's giving you that softer initial spring rate, making things a little bit more comfortable while cruising, but then these guys tend to firm up progressively as they get compressed. So you're gonna get a little bit more performance when these things are really pushed hard. And the spring rates are gonna reflect that. Specifically, you're looking at an initial spring rate of 183 pounds for the front spring and a pretty big range for the rear, guys. 103 pounds is your initial spring rate, all the way down to 217 pounds once it is compressed. And this is just gonna help kind of give you what I talked about earlier, that softer, comfortable ride while cruising, and then help firm up once you push these things hard in turns onto that secondary rate. And this will help improve your roll control overall, according to Eibach, when used with those sway bars, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. Now, along with that improved roll control, you're also gonna be looking at less nosedive under hard braking and less squat under heavy acceleration, and just general improvement all around. The car should just feel a little tighter and a little bit more responsive with the springs installed. And then, of course, there's one of the biggest benefits of the Sportline Springs, and that is just general improvement to your appearance. Again, if you're a big fan of that slammed or low look, the Sportlines will never disappoint. One thing to keep in mind though, guys, because you're getting that big drop in the rear, again, 2 inches back there, you can expect more of a leveled look with your Mustang as opposed to keeping that drop 1.5 inches on all 4 corners, maintaining the slightest bit of that nose down rake. So something to consider there. Ultimately, I always encourage you to check out some customer submitted images to get a better idea of how your ride might sit with these springs installed. One thing I do enjoy about this particular kit is that Eibach has included their Pro Damper shocks and struts. The reality is, if you throw the Sportline Springs and that big aggressive drop on some high mileage factory dampers, it's just gonna be a recipe for a bad time. Poor ride quality and ultimately poor performance as well. Eibach recognized this and decided to toss in these tuned dampers for this particular kit. At the end of the day, the Pro Damper shocks and struts are just better suited to handle the added stresses of an aftermarket lowering spring, that lower ride height and the firmer spring rate that might otherwise tax your factory dampers a little faster. And ultimately, it's just gonna improve your ride quality and the handling performance along with the springs and sway bars. But I do wanna point out that the Pro Damper shocks and struts are not adjustable, meaning you can't soften or stiffen them up depending on your preference. Now, if that's something you had to have with a handling package like this, then my recommendation to you would be check out the Ford Performance Adjustable Handling Pack, as they do offer adjustable shocks and struts. But the springs and dampers are only 2/3 of the equation here, gang. As you can see, we're missing, or we haven't talked about yet, Eibach's adjustable front and rear sway bars, which are also included in the Sport Plus suspension kit. Specifically, you're looking at a tubular 36mm front bar and a solid 25mm rear bar. And again, guys, just a huge improvement over the factory sway bars in many ways. Now, the tubular option up front will be nice because it will help save some weight compared to those big, heavy, solid options, but without really compromising any rigidity. Now, as an S197 owner and as someone who has driven a bunch of these things in stock and modified form, my general feeling is that they are a tad underbarred from the factory, meaning you get that understeer and that push or plow feeling through the turns. Adding a set of sway bars like this will drastically improve the handling and the overall feel of the car. It's going to help turn in responsiveness. The car should feel a little bit more flatter in the turn, and you can actually dial in a little bit of oversteer as well, helping the car rotate through the turn, something that really isn't present in factory form. Both the front and rear sway bars are three-way adjustable, and this is one of those things that I encourage you guys, you're gonna have to play with it on your own time before landing on your ideal settings. Now, I'm sure some guys, like your Vaughn Gittin Juniors out there, prefer a little bit more oversteer, whereas other driving styles might prefer more of a neutral balance. So again, just play with the settings a little bit before landing on your optimal setting is my recommendation to you. Another recommendation, start with the middle hole on both bars, getting set up for the very first time. That would be the best bet, and then just kind of go from there. Now, if you wanted to soften the bar, essentially you go from the hole farthest away from the bar itself, or if you wanted to tighten things up a little bit, you go to the hole closest to the bar itself. So my piece of advice for you there, guys, when setting these things up for the very first time. Now, as far as construction for these sway bars, well, cold formed, high strength steel is what you're gonna be looking at here, guys. Aircraft grade, of course, finished off in this red powder coat, which will just help reduce any corrosion and also look pretty cool underneath the car when installed. I will say the Eibach kit does come with a lot of extras, including bump stops, rear sway bar links, but it does not include front sway bar end links, and that is something I would recommend picking up, especially with the Sportline Springs in place. Having a set of adjustables to adjust them accordingly will certainly be a great idea. So let's talk about that installation briefly, guys, and I had this one pegged at a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter at the top of this video, not necessarily because this work is difficult per se. There's just gonna be a lot of steps involved installing the springs and the sway bars and so on. So again, 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, maybe a few hours from start to finish, less or more depending on your expertise and your setup. As far as tool list, well, basic socket set is going to be the biggie in addition to a few open-ended wrenches. Definitely gonna need your spring compressor for this install as well, guys, don't forget that. And last but not least, a lift or jack and jack stands should help you get the job done. Wrapping things up, the Eibach Sport-Plus Suspension Kit will offer a huge bang for your buck. The improvement in handling performance alone will certainly be worth the price of admission, but factor in that awesome ride height thanks to those Sportline Springs, and you got a can't-miss turnkey package for any S197 owner out there. So that is my review of the Eibach kit, which you can grab right here at AmericanMuscle.com.